Well, obviously, yesterday was opening day for MLB, and we saw lots of awareness being raised in several different aspects. You know, we saw the players wearing shirts that say Black Lives Matter. We also saw the Black Lives Matter stamp on the mound during those games, which was very cool. And also, there are some teams, even ahead of their games, starting to raise awareness for their teams, also their fans. We saw that the Tampa Bay Rays released this tweet this morning saying today is opening day, which means it's a great day to arrest the killers of Breonna Taylor. So, Doug, let me ask you this. What does it say that a team's official Twitter page is taking up the cause of the Black Lives Matter movement and also for arresting the killers of Breonna Taylor?
Well, this is a big step. Teams, I mean, you think back to the Red Sox statement acknowledging racism, they saying it's real. I mean, that is a step that you cannot underestimate because in the Black experience, you're constantly litigating and relitigating your experience. Oh, this didn't happen. It's not what you think it was. You're always in these conversations to reconsider whether you're misinterpreting the double meaning of your experience. And now when you have institutions, front and center organizations in sports coming out and saying, no, we're taking these on, we're taking steps, we have your back. That is a huge shift. And more as teams coalesce around it, we're seeing the power of the corporate world. When you think about the Washington Redskins, you pull funding, the economic empowerment, all of a sudden now there's a new focal point. So this is definitely a change and a first step because you have to acknowledge it first. And that is something that doesn't always happen. It's like, well, no, it's not this. Now we're moving to that stage where we're now looking at it in the detailed ways it really exists in our society.
This is a major shift in sports and corporate America. This is a major thing in sports because you now see a 4-year progression of Colin Kaepernick when he decided to take a peaceful protest at his job and was basically ostracized and whiteballed from the league to the point where he still does not have a job. And the President of the United States called those players SOBs who decided to take such a stance. And now all of a sudden, 4 years later, we have the NFL apologizing, and you have Major League Baseball players last night and coaches each taking a knee. Mm-hmm. That is very powerful in our country. 4 years ago, when we started Get Up, we were talking about this very same topic, and people in mass media were just saying, well, that show is just being woke, or stick to sports, or shut up and dribble. Or now you try to use certain terms like Black Lives Matter is a mob. No, just trying to get equality, okay? And I applaud the Rays for taking this stand and using their professional platform. I get that people are in business to make money. And 4 years ago, it was like, we don't want to alienate a certain fan base because they would be loud. And a lot of times the squeaky wheel does get the oil. And you don't want to alienate any parts of your fan base. And then you realize over these 4 years that fan base outwardly has started to dwindle for righteousness. So I appreciate this tweet, and it's going to start a domino for all of the people who tried to act like they don't want their sports interrupted with politics, as we now realize that they're basically intertwined.
I think this is a very big deal, and I think that we've all wondered before sports came back, what exactly would it look like? How would the fight against social injustice manifest itself on the field, in sports, in Orlando, in the bubble, and with MLB? And what we saw last night were really good examples of that. The words that you already played from LeBron James, using that platform, using the press conference to speak about social injustice, and the playing of the voice of Morgan Freeman, but the words of Andrew McCutchen and his wife before the game was really powerful. I wish Fauci threw a better first pitch. I think that would have made the night a little bit better. However,
he socially distanced his pitch.
He did. And then we had this tweet about Breonna Taylor. And I think that one thing that's important, there's been so much attention on the Breonna Taylor incident. I want to talk a little bit about the details. The police had a no-knock warrant when they went to her home. And the person that they were looking for, the individual, was already in police custody in a different part of town. Then they were wearing plain clothes. They broke down the door, and a gunfight that resulted in her death occurred. And I think that getting justice for Breonna Taylor is extremely important, but also important is looking at some of the policies, looking at the no-knock warrants, looking at the use of chokeholds, looking at the training that police receive to create change over time. It's kind of like what LeBron was discussing versus movement versus lifetime. If the police officers are arrested and charged with the death of Breonna Taylor, I don't think this ends. That's the end of a movement, but I think a lifelong commitment with policy changing and review some of the ways that policing occurs in this nation is the lifestyle that LeBron is talking about.
But also, Jacoby, he's also talking about decades and decades of us having this conversation, and Doug alluded to it earlier. It creates a level of frustration when you hope that change is happening. Like, so I remember being a youngster and understanding what happened with Emmett Till and what happened with Fred Hampton. I want people out there to Google what happened in the middle of the night with Fred Hampton. You just reminded me of it when you said the Breonna Taylor story. I have too many of these names in my head, unfortunately. I remember the Rodney King situation. I thought change was going to happen. Trayvon Martin was pursued by a vigilante officer. I thought change was going to happen. Eric Gardner said, "I can't breathe." I thought change was going to happen. Look at what happened with Ahmaud Arbery. I know too many of these names. When George Floyd said he can't breathe and the cop had his knee on his neck for almost 9 minutes, that's how the black man felt about society. So yes, LeBron does feel like it's not a movement because it don't stop. That's basically what he's describing. And thank you to the Rays and to so many people that have graduated over these past 4 years. Hopefully we can continue to have this level of growth as a society.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.